TPU fails, Bambu fails, Prusa fails, and wow, that is some really good overhangs. All this and more, PrintFix Friday, episode 78. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here and you love 3D printing and failing less, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed. Remember, we are accepting open calls for print failures. If you have print failures that you would like to submit and have them on the show, you can do so by sliding to those DMs, tagging us on all the social medias, utilizing the hashtag PrintFix, or emailing us directly, youtube@3dmusketeers.com, where it goes directly into my inbox. We'll help you out, and if I remember, we'll feature it in the show. Greatly appreciate all of you that do support the show and support the channel financially, which leads us right into our sponsor, 3D Musketeers. Remember, if you are tired of having your prints fail and you want to fail just a little bit less, you can reach out to the pros at 3D Musketeers. With over 40 years of experience and over 40 3D printers, we can help you get your parts made quickly, efficiently, and safely, because some of these fails get rough in these episodes. But we don't just do 3D printing, we also offer 3D scanning and CAD services to bring your ideas to life, whether it is something physical that you want replicated or something up in the old noggin that you want put into your hands. We are doing a lot of amazing things for our clients, including hopefully some awesome trips that we're going to be able to take you guys on to be scanning some really amazing things. So make sure you get subscribed if that's your kind of thing. We recognize not everyone is looking to utilize $20,000+ scanners, but you might want to learn about them. That's what we're going to be teaching you here on this channel, but you might want to support us, kick a couple of bucks into that creator fund, and that's where Patreon and YouTube channel members comes in. For as little as $1 a month, you can support the efforts that occur here on the channel, and all that money goes directly into making sure that our editor Andrew can eat a little bit more than Doritos and Mountain Dew every day. You know, we have to keep him alive somehow. We love you, Andrew. Thanks for taking the 52-minute videos and turning them into 25, because even though people complain about the cuts, they would complain about the length otherwise. Not something that I've ever heard very often, positively at least, but hey, you know, there are worse things in the world, like not being able to fix fails. But that's not what we do here. Let's get into fixing some print fails. PETG warping issues. Hello everyone, using PETG for the first time, did a fair bit of research, had trouble at the beginning printing temp towers with the prints not adhering to the glass bed. Added some blue painter's tape as recommended online, and this worked a treat and stopped temp towers base from warping. Now my first actual print has warped. It's still printing and usable, but what am I doing incorrectly? Printer is an Ender 3 Pro with 4.2.7 running Marlin 2.1.2 firmware, temps are 230/65. Oh, well, there you go. PETG wants generally between 240 and 260 on the nozzle with 75 to 90 C on the bed. PETG likes higher temperatures, so that's immediately where I would start, because if your temps aren't right, the rest of it's not going to work either. PETG is a tougher material, so if you are going through issues with PETG, make sure your temps are good. If you're not sticking to glass and your temps are good, make sure that glass is clean. But at 65 C, PETG is just not going to stick. You gotta raise those temps. Those are rookie temps. Gotta pump those temps up. My overhang corners on TPU keep warping and distorting. So you got a TPU print here, looks pretty good other than these corners. It's a Bambu Lab P1P with Priley 95A TPU, 210C, and 65. That is really low, but this is a cooling thing. So TPU just in general sucks to print, so be very clear about that. Even further, as far as I'm aware, Bambu Lab printers are not designed for TPU. I know in the AMS for sure, but I don't know without the AMS if they can print TPU. I'm sure somebody will tell me if they can in those comments below. But being that it is a Bambu Lab printer, there are certain things that you can't adjust. This, however, is going to be cooling related. You're getting pretty darn good results otherwise. I'm not seeing any major issues when it comes to ringing or other layer faults. It looks pretty clean. This, just turn up your part cooling fan or auxiliary fan. You can do this specifically for the bridging overhang amount. There are some settings in Bambu Studio. Let's take a look. Inside of Bambu Studio, you have your overhang speeds, which involve a certain threshold. You can absolutely look at adjusting those and slow them down a little bit or speed them up as you see fit. But I would also look at adding a little bit more cooling as well, whether that is something that is done just on bridges themselves or some other way. I do wish there was a dedicated tab for cooling, but inside Bambu Studio, you must click on the little edit icon next to your material itself, and you do get some options for cooling. Not as much as what you have in Prusa Slicer, but we do have some cooling overhang threshold, which you can look into a little bit if you care to do so. But you can look at messing around with your cooling and look at adjusting it for your overhangs as well as your auxiliary part cooling fan, which does blow from the left side of the printer. So if you are dealing with issues on just that one edge, face that toward the auxiliary part cooling fan, and maybe that extra air will help it out and keep it flat for you. Next up, we've got a fail from Maker's Muse, or Angus, as a lot of you all know him, a phenomenal content creator in the 3D printing space. We'll card to his channel so you guys can take a look at it, and would love for him to be a future podcast guest. So Angus, if you're watching this, hit me up. Would love to have you on the podcast to talk all about your journey in 3D printing. It says, guess the 3D printer, hint. Those are layer lines. We have Nero saying, fresh off the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon, we haven't progressed that far. Well, it's not a Bambu. In fact, it's a Prusa Mark III's, and I have never seen that personally, but we can see that we've got a little bit more information. It's been a while since they've used one, but they do remember seeing a regular pattern, just not as pronounced. It's the 0.15 quality default with ABS on the new Prusa enclosure. He'll do a few more experiments, but it's crazy prominent in this particular print, but not others as much. So definitely here, the color might be pronouncing it, but this is way too much ringing, way more than you would want to see. This is absolutely some level of resonance that's occurring. Maybe the enclosure itself is resonating, causing the problem. I'm not exactly certain, but this is absolutely a really bad case of both ringing and what could be belt-based artifacting. Something is resonating. And while you might be hitting some resonant speed that's causing those vibrations, I don't see it to be this specific across the entire model. Now, without knowing the size of the part, I don't know if this is in the same pattern as a GT2 belt. We do see that sometimes, especially on my laser, I see this. If you run it at a very specific speed, the belt will start to vibrate, and that will be transferred into the motion system, and you'll see it in the prints, or in this case, the laser. I would check to make sure the belts are properly tensioned, but knowing Angus, he's probably already done that. So we gotta look at things such as, what table is it on? Is it vibration isolated from the enclosure? Is the enclosure vibration isolated from the table? Where are we getting some sort of vibration problem here? Because that's what is causing this. If you are going through this kind of a problem and it's more than just a little bit of rigging here, this is the rigging that we have come to expect. Unfortunately, Prusas do sometimes have ringing issues, especially when you run them fast. But if you're running stock speeds, you shouldn't see this, like, at all. We have some people stating that if you increase or decrease the speed a little bit, it might get you out of that resonance zone. Sometimes everything that the printer is touching and attached to just hates a specific speed. Prusas are not the quietest machines on the planet and do have a tendency to vibrate the surfaces that they're on. That's why it is recommended that people print either on concrete blocks like the stone pavers, or, and what we do, is we use a Diversitech rubber foot as well as some EVA foam to deaden it from the shelf that it sits on. It seems to work pretty well, but I don't normally run stock speeds, so maybe we're just out of that hardcore resonant zone that we're seeing here. If your printer does have this type of resonance, it is good to check to make sure your belts are tight and everything is in ship shape, but also make sure that you move it to a different location and see if the issue persists. Taking it off a shelf and putting it on a hard surface like a floor or a counter that is much heavier and dense will get you to see if it is a resonance issue or it is a mechanical issue. This one is very curious to me, and I love and hope that we get some updates on it. We've got a lot of different answers here. Some good, some bad, some just, you know, downright funny. The Ringer 5000, if you will. I don't know if it was ever solved, but it is interesting. And I'd love to get an update on this, and maybe we'll see a future video. But yeah, Angus, if you're seeing this, let's do a podcast, dude. Let's hang out. Next up, a fail for Mr. Joel Telling, the 3D printing nerd, one of my favorite content creators in this space. Not only because Joel does an amazing job filming, but the editing is on point as well. But even further, he's just a ton of fun to hang out with. I had the pleasure of spending some time around him and Mr. David Tobin at the East Coast Rep Rap Festival, where we did actually scan Joel, which was a lot of fun, and maybe we'll see some things coming up with that, who knows. But Joel here has a Bambu lab failure. This says, well, it did stop because it detected spaghetti. I've had a similar problem with my X1 Carbon, which by the time this video is released, there might be a new one at our shop. My Bambu Lab X1 Carbon was back at Bambu last Wednesday, and it should be delivered later today or right around the time that this video is getting released. So I'm very excited, but the stream tomorrow is all about the Anker Make M5. If you want to see my opinion on it as we unbox it and assemble it, come over and hang out. It was actually a donation from one of our Patreon members, Russ. So thank you, Russ, for that. We're gonna have an entire video that I guess will be our first major sponsor. So thanks, Russ, for sponsoring an entire live stream. Greatly appreciate it. But Joel here has a bit of a problem. This is the Hydra AMS. And if you guys don't know about the Hydra AMS, Nero did a great video on it. We'll card to it so you guys can take a look. But this should basically solve all the issues that most of us have with the AMS, in that it just doesn't like certain brands of filament and make the rings that I spent more time than I care to admit working on completely obsolete, because you can just print a new sections for the AMS itself. This is where open source wins. Unfortunately, this is not open source. Well, AMS isn't. The Hydra AMS is. It's just upsetting to me that if Bambu had gone from the beginning for open source, we would be here so much faster. But Joel says that it did stop because it detected spaghetti, but this tool head cover being off tells me otherwise. And something that I would like to take a look at here, because it does look like the magnets in Joel's cover are now missing. So I don't know what's going on there. But as Joel says, he believes this fail has to do with bad filament. I could see that, but the rest of the print does look pretty clean. You might have a bad section of filament, that can happen. And this is the textured PEI plate from what I can tell. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of textured plates. Some people have great experience with them. I never have, no matter what brand I've used. So, you know, your particular poison there. And as Mr. Barnacle says, be careful, dude. Posting any pictures showing something going wrong with that printer could get you canceled. Ah, the memery. See, there's a difference between being a jokester and being toxic. We talked about toxicity in a recent video. We'll card to it so you guys can take a look if you haven't yet, because I do think it is an important conversation for us to have. I'll be curious to know if it did detect the spaghetti and that's what caused the print to stop, or if it was the front cover falling off that caused it to stop. We definitely have some layer lines here as well. A good way to fix this, there really isn't, honestly. If you do have a print this large that is that tall, you might want to go the route that if you like it, then you should put a brim on it and hope that's enough bed adhesion. What we've got a pretty tall part here with not all that much touching the build plate. Now, the nice thing about the Hydra AMS is it appears to be mostly support-free, if not completely support-free, so kudos there. But if it has a very small area touching the build plate and you're moving as fast as these printers do, these Bambu printers print at insane speeds. To be clear, I have little to zero experience with Vorons personally building them. I've had some experience in front of them, but never building one. So, you know, really working on a Bambu was my first time working on a high-speed FDM 3D printer. These kind of speeds can cause the printer and nozzle to collide with the part, just ripping the part off the bed, especially if it doesn't have a massive cross-sectional area that we see here. So I would say going slower is just not an option. Those are probably stock speeds, so that's fine. But definitely look at adding a brim potentially, and then maybe some extra Z-hop. I've noticed that I did have to modify how much Z-Hop my Bambu was using. It was only like 0.2, and I prefer them to be at least 0.4, if not 0.6. If it takes a little bit longer for the machine to move, but it guarantees a little bit better that it doesn't run into things, that sounds like a win in my book. Let me know what you guys think. I recognize that we're changing some things off of fully stock, but realistically, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about my prints finishing without the print head colliding. Been there, done that, man. I'm sorry you're going through it. Prints shift over drastically, almost like a staircase. Fix. Sorry for all the post. Here's my newest issue. Tried to print the boat. The boat. The boat. Victoria the boat. She could not care less. This is a Benchy that's having some problems, and your printer is absolutely having some sort of a belt issue. And does anybody else see it? The belt is upside down. So what's happening here is it's slipping. This is actually a lot easier to do than you might think, because you don't always know, and especially if you're new to this, putting a belt on backwards is totally possible. This is actually inertia. Nothing is skipping, it's inertia. The print head that is in motion wants to remain in motion, and one that is at rest wants to remain there. That's Newtonian physics. This has been well established for centuries even. So yeah, flip the belt over and life should be good. And that's what they did. And it seems to work just fine. And as the commenter below says, you are not the first and you won't be the last. That's okay. This is exactly what we need in this community. This is the exact answer. This is the cause of why. We've got an individual responding. This is perfect. And I love this one. On another note, impressed with the overhang, because yeah, that's better than basically any one of our printers could do, unless we weren't trying. I feel like that's one of those that does really well when you don't try. We got a Michael Jackson and then you've been struck by a jam stepper motor. We could viably rewrite Smooth Criminal for the 3D printing industry, and I've always thought that would be a hilarious series, but I can't sing worth a damn. I don't know, man. It'd be funny. If you want that kind of thing, let me know, and if you want to get involved in writing the scripts for that, that would be a hilarious bit of videos that we could do. Next up, this is not a fail, but a response to the Wednesday video where I talked about ABS and ASA not liking cooling, and I made a critical error. This is an interesting one. This comes from Rod, one of our Patreon supporters in our Discord. Thank you, sir. And of course, if you want to come and hang out with all of us, you can join at the $10 tier and higher to get access to our private Discord, where we get to hang out, talk about all cool things, and often share some really interesting facts about printing. Rod here is printing with a Voron 2.4, and with little to no cooling, we're getting a fair bit of warping. This is ASA. He turned on the fan, and boy howdy, that looks a lot better. I neglected to add in there, and this is again because I have little experience with crazy fast 3D printing, that if you do go very fast and you are printing a styrene-based plastic, you do want some cooling, actually a fair bit, because you need to make sure that the layer under what you are printing has fully solidified before you start printing the next layer, or it will start to curl like you see here. So extra cooling is actually the answer. That video, we probably should have had a bit of a caveat saying your mileage may vary. It will vary based on the printer that you're using, but that's totally fine. That's why I love the internet. Rod was not the only one to challenge us in the Discord about this, and it shows that I need more experience with high-speed 3D printers that aren't lemons. So, hey, LDO, Jason, we should talk. I'd love to do a Voron build. I think it would be a really fun couple of live streams that we could do here on the channel to build a trident, maybe? I don't know, something fun where we can start pushing the limits for Clipper and that kind of thing, where I can learn more and make cool content for you guys, and we can do one idiot's journey through Clipper, and I'm the idiot. This is something that you don't think about until it becomes a problem that's in front of your face, and it's something that I never thought of because most of my printers don't print this fast. So it's good to always make sure that you're open to hearing perspectives of others, because I have always been on the no cooling at all for ABS and ASA and other styrenes, but when you're printing fast, you need the cooling. Last up, we have a fail from the Bambu Lab Facebook group here. Darn it, the cover fell off on my 3-day print. I won't be home for a week. I hope the print can hold off that long. We've got a little bit of constipation back here with a clogged up poop chute and a front cover of a bamboo that has fallen off. And we have some people saying they've read a lot of posts about this happening, and they're saying just cut some tape and tape it all shut. But I don't know. I kind of like that the front cover can fall off. If you do have magnets that fall out, like mine did, yeah, you'll kind of need to tape it shut because most of the glues that I tried didn't hold it. But we do already have a bit of a layer issue right here. So this print might actually be dead in the water as it is. I will be curious to see if there is an update here because there is a lot of filament that is used. Every time you change colors, the machine has to purge back into the material waste, otherwise known as the poop chute. You're gonna print likely more in waste than you will in the part itself. And it's something to note with machines that aren't tool changers or IDEX or something along those lines. Ones that have a single nozzle, there is a lot of purge, and oftentimes that is more than the print itself. That can kind of suck, especially when you have failures like this, because you're not just losing the part itself, but you're losing all that waste that is still waste. So it's like a double kick in the pants. A way to solve this though, I mean, obviously you got to make sure that your material chute is cleaning itself out. If you're not at home, there's really not much you can do. I know Bambu has been rolling out new firmware that includes better material chute waste bin detection. So if it is starting to back up in there, the machine can detect it with the built-in camera, but I don't have a Bambu to test that with. Soon, TM. So we'll see what happens. I do want to do some multicolored prints that I've been wanting to do for like 2 months. So hopefully we'll see what happens. This is the benefit and downside to having a machine that prints fast and utilizes multi-material and doesn't have it all in a purge block. If you were doing it all on a purge block, you wouldn't have this buildup back here because it would all just be on a block on the build plate. If you are going to leave town like this and leave your machine running, I would recommend converting from a material chute perspective to a purge block perspective. While it will take up a lot of space on the build plate, it will guarantee that you don't have an issue with that poop chute back there. But, I believe there's medicine for constipation, so maybe that works. Maybe you need some more fiber. Maybe try some wood filament. That might work as well. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure, of course, if you're not subscribed, to get subscribed and leave a like if you haven't. And comment below. Let me know what you thought of these fails, and let me know about your experience with ABS and ASA. Do you print fast? If you do, how much fan do you run? I'm curious, because I definitely want to be testing this one out. But stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Gotta pump those temps up. Pump up the temps. Pump it up while your feet are stomping. Wait, what? Hey, thanks so much for watching this video, and a massive thank you goes out to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel member supporters whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. Thank you to all of you for what you do in making these videos possible. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this as often as we do. Remember, if you do want to join, links are in that description down below. And right below me will be the entire PrintFixFriday series, now 78 episodes deep, where you can go back, learn about failures, and how to fix them. And right next to that will be the printer maintenance series, so you can keep your printers running in tip-top shape. I will see you all down in those comments and in the next one. Take care.